half the battle. You know, it's time that we got back to the cartoon.
And since it was stuck like a pirate tale like over a week ago, why not look at an adventure on the high seas?
Yeah, that's the weakest justification for an episode ever.
Anyway, here's Sink the Montana. The episode starts with the decommissioning ceremony of the USS Montana, the largest battleship in the Navy fleet. Her captain isn't too happy about it, since he's being forced to retire along with his ship.
Have the harpies of the shore come to pluck the eagle of the sea?
We're not celebrating the end of your career, George. We're honoring you and the Montana.
If you think that circus out there is some kind of honor, you're no friend of mine and never have been.
Before we can learn more about the relationship between Hawk and Admiral Latimer, Cobra attacks. Their goal seems to be to take over the Montana using battle android troopers.
That pea shooter's not gonna do any good.
Hawk is outmatched and retreats. He tries to get to his friend to save him, but...
Cobra's attacking your ship, Latimer! Get out of that chair and join the fight!
On which side? Anything is better than retirement, Hawk. Even if I have to serve Cobra.
George, you can't betray your country.
Hawk, I've only got one friend, the Montana, and I'm not letting them cut her up.
Hawk gets the hell out of Dodge as Latimer assumes his place in Cobra. Also, they totally burn an American flag here.
I'm actually surprised that there wasn't any controversy over that back in the day.
As proof of his loyalty, the Admiral fires on the mothballed Navy fleet. So he's essentially destroying junk. Also, the US Navy has at least 4 scrapped aircraft carriers just sitting there. Seems like a waste somehow. Destro then reveals his plans.
Our next stop is Norfolk, Virginia. But that's the headquarters for the 7th Fleet. Precisely. Sink that fleet and the Montana will rule the Atlantic.
Yeah, because no other countries have any navies that could possibly fight Cobra.
Anyway, Cobra has presents for the Admiral. A spiffy new uniform, and, that thing. Hawk pleads with his old friend to surrender, or the Joes will have to attack.
George, this is Hawk. Please listen to me. If you don't surrender right away, G.I. Joe will launch a heavy attack. The Montana will be destroyed. And I know how much you love that ship. You must listen to me. George, you've got to surrender.
And I have to give it to the cartoon here. You can really see the emotion and conflict Hawk is going through. It's some top-notch stuff there. With no choice left, the Joes advance for the attack. The Montana pretty much stands no chance at all, until Destro activates that weird thing he brought.
The pulse modulator creates an electromagnetic bubble, which completely surrounds this ship for 2 miles in all directions. Any ship, plane, or missile entering that bubble will immediately lose all power.
So, it's basically a small version of the Pyramid of Darkness from the 3rd miniseries then.
Nice rehash of ideas there.
The Navy stubbornly wants to throw the Atlantic Fleet at the Montana, even though they've just seen it won't work. So, Hawk is forced to improvise.
The Montana's pulse modulator will stop any modern ship, plane, or missile, which leaves us with only one choice for a good close-quarters attack ship. The USS Constitution, oldest ship still on active duty in the US Navy.
Okay, 2 things here. 1. I'm sure the ship would break apart if you tried hoisting it up using helicopters. And 2. The Constitution, even to this day, has a full crew. There should be sailors on that ship. I guess they all took a smoke break or something just before the Joes showed up. They get the Constitution near the Montana without breaking the thing into a million pieces, and...
Avast there, you pasty-faced, sour-nosed, rickety-minded landlubbers!
Oh, right! Shipwreck is in this episode!
You've lashed the mizzen to the mainmast! Do you want to sink us?
There's a ship's museum below.
A museum that apparently also had a parrot-sized sailor costume in it. And eye patches.
What's that you say, Captain Bligh?
Abandon ship!
Oh, Shipwreck, I can't stay mad at you!
Anyway, it looks like it's time for the showdown.
Ahoy down below! Atlantic fleet approaching!
Blast Overton! He's sending those men to certain death!
Yeah, death sure is certain. You just know that the worst that will happen in this cartoon is they'll get their clothes wet. Nobody notices the Constitution coming alongside the battleship, probably because the entire crew is made up of battle android troopers. The Joes, including Shipwreck, board the Montana.
Avast, you walking garbage cans! Eat steel!
You know what? I'm gonna let slide that he tried to attack robots with a frickin' sword, since it's Shipwreck. And he's awesome.
Stupid, but awesome.
The Joes destroy the energy dampening MacGuffin, so that should be the end of it. But Destro hasn't given up just yet.
I'll program the automatic firing control. We can still sink half the Atlantic fleet.
Destro, we've lost. We might as well surrender.
Cobra hasn't lost, Latimer. Just you!
Curse your sudden yet inevitable betrayal, to steal a phrase. As a main bad guy, Destro does his duty and escapes at the last second, leaving Latimer behind, who is unable to stop the ship firing, leaving the fleet no choice but to, well, sink the Montana. The Joes do manage to stop the battleship from firing, but it's too late. The fleet, not taking any chances, keeps attacking, causing fatal damage. The Joes all make it out to safety, because of course they do, but Latimer needs some convincing.
No, I can't leave her!
My aging back, George! Forget that going down with your ship stuff!
No, I'm staying! It would have been more merciful to let me drown!
You know, I'm siding with Latimer here. I mean, the guy committed treason, so he's gonna end up in front of a firing squad. Well, if this wasn't a children's cartoon where nobody ever dies anyway. And that was Sink the Montana.
And I have to admit, this was a powerful episode.
The character of Admiral Latimer was well thought out. He wasn't evil, just desperate, and was shown being extremely reluctant throughout. He was a man that didn't have anything except his ship, the Montana, and this was shown in black and white flashbacks that were nicely done. And at the end of the episode, he was left a broken man. That's some emotional stuff.
It would be a real shame if anybody were to ruin that mood. I'ma ruin that mood!
Also, this was a great episode for Hawk, who was shown to be equally reluctant when he was forced to go after his old friend. It's something you didn't see often in cartoons back then. With all this heavy stuff going on, Shipwreck was a welcome tension breaker with his pirate antics.
The only problem I have with the episode, and it's a minor one, is due to the edict that nobody was ever allowed to die in the cartoon.
Latimer really should have gone down with his ship. It would have been a tragic but appropriate ending. And since nobody ever dies, the fleet that got blown up were all empty decommissioned ships in a floating junkyard. How convenient! But it pales in comparison to the convenience of having the Montana be crewed solely by battle android troopers. Robots who could get shot and could all merrily go down with the ship. As a complete aside, there was never a real battleship called the USS Montana. During World War II, there were plans to build a new class of battleship, the Montana class, but that idea was scrapped in favor of aircraft carriers before the first one, which would have been called Montana, was completed. I guess this is a point in history where the G.I. Joe universe branched off from our own, since in G.I. Joe they obviously did build the Montana class ships. Overall, this was an almost perfect episode, only hampered by the way 80s cartoons had to be presented back then. You really should watch this. I really wish that there would have been an Admiral Latimer action figure though.
See you next time, everybody! The hell was that?